Good, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm glad to get some time with you today. Thanks for wanting to hear about philosophy and religious studies at St. Mary's. So my name is Barrett Emerick. I'm the chair of the department. I'm also affiliated with the Environmental Studies program and with the Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies program. At St. Mary's, I teach and write about morality and social justice. And in particular, the classes that I teach are ethics and feminism, environmental ethics, racial justice, and what it means to be a responsible person. I'd like to give you a quick little presentation today about what studying philosophy and religion can do for you in general, and think about how and what they can do for you in challenging times in particular. I'm going to talk for a few minutes, and then I really want this to be a conversation and would like to hear from those of you joining me about why you're interested in philosophy or religious studies, why you signed up for this session rather than one of the other sessions. My classes are rarely lecture and are almost entirely discussion based. So I don't normally talk this much, but this is a helpful entry point for whatever conversation we can have here in a few minutes. So why study philosophy or why study religion? Well, there are practical answers that I can give you that I think are true. Studying philosophy or studying religion will help you to acquire particular practical skills that are going to be helpful in a huge variety of jobs that you might pursue after St. Mary's. So being a philosophy major, being a religious studies major is going to leave you well equipped to read and understand difficult texts, difficult material. It's going to equip you to think abstractly, to solve problems. It's going to equip you to write effectively and to speak and communicate well. But all of that's true for every discipline that you would study at St. Mary's. You're going to get that wherever you are at our college. And that's part of what you get from a small liberal arts experience, the chance to develop and refine those skills through small classes and close interaction with your professors and with other students. So why study philosophy and religion in particular? In addition to those practical skills, I think that studying philosophy and studying religion help you not only to be good in your work life, but they help you to be good in life. So they not only help you to be a good worker, they help you to be a good person. And I think we can see that especially clearly in really hard times like those we're currently experiencing here in Maryland, in the United States as a country, in the world as a species. So let me back up a little bit and say a little bit more about what philosophy is as a discipline, and then I'm going to circle around in a minute to think about religious studies and how it relates. Philosophy is the oldest discipline. It predates all of the other kinds of things you can study, and everything else at the university emerges or can trace its origin back to philosophy. So in philosophy, there are three main kinds of questions that we seek to answer. The first are questions of existence, or the nature of reality, or parts of it. Those are what we call metaphysical questions. Then there are questions of knowledge. What does it mean for you to know something? How is knowledge different from belief? When you disagree with somebody about factual claims, how should you disagree with them? How can you determine who's right and who's wrong? All of those are called epistemic questions. Epistemology is the study of knowledge, or what it means to know stuff. And so when we're asking those kinds of questions, what we're doing is engaging in epistemology. The third set of questions are about how you should live your life, what you owe to other people, what you owe to yourself, what justice is. Those are ethical questions, or questions having to do with value and morality. So all that's pretty abstract. Let me try to bring it down to earth for a bit. Like I said at the outset, one of the classes I teach every year, one of the things I'm teaching right now, is a class called Environmental Ethics. And in that class, what we do is ask how humans should treat and think and care about the natural world. One of the things we spend about a quarter of the semester exploring is climate change. And again, I'm teaching that this week and next week and the week after that right now. So note that all three of the kinds of questions that I just named all apply to climate change. So we should ask, what is it? What is climate change? Is it natural or is it human caused? How can we be sure that climate change is real and is caused by humans? How should we be interacting with others if we disagree about that question? And how should we act as individuals in light of climate change? What does it mean to act responsibly? That's an interpersonal moral question. We can also ask what kinds of policies we should adopt as a country or a species. Those are social or political questions. So I just took things from being pretty theoretical to pretty applied, but it still maybe isn't quite as down on the ground as it could be. So consider one more way that all this plays out in philosophical discussions. In the fall, I'm going to be teaching a core seminar for incoming first-year students called How to Be a Person. And in that class, we're going to explore the following questions. Do you have free will? Are you in charge of yourself? What does it mean to be the kind of being that's morally responsible for things? How should you feel about yourself when you act wrongly? How should others feel about you? So note again that we'll ask all three of those big picture, high theory questions that I started us out with. What does it mean to be a person? That's a metaphysical question. What does it mean to be morally responsible? That's an ethical question. Why should we think that we're justified in making either of those claims? That's an epistemic question. So far, so good. What I want to add now is that those same kinds of questions about what it means to be a person in light of, that we can ask those same questions about what it means to be a person in light of really challenging circumstances, like climate change or like the COVID-19 pandemic. One of the things that I personally think that we don't talk enough about culturally, just out in the world, is that it's often hard just to be a person in the world, to have something called agency, to be in charge of yourself, to choose to get out of bed every day and go to work, to be in relationships with other people, to pursue projects that you've set for yourself or that others have encouraged you to pursue. Even when you like all of those things, it can still be hard sometimes to do them and to choose to do them. That's what philosophers have called our existential predicament. Having to make the choice to be a person is active. It's something that you do and not something that just happens to you. And that can be hard all the time, but is maybe uniquely hard when your circumstances are challenging or frightening or uncertain, like they are for all of us right now during the pandemic. So for me, I take a lot of comfort in being able to explore and identify and name what makes all of that challenging. And that's one of the things that studying philosophy helps me to do. It helps me to get my arms around what's going on for me. When I understand something that's challenging, like a pandemic or social injustice or climate change, it's still really hard to face, but it's a little bit easier because at least I know what it is that I'm dealing with and that others are dealing with. And I can exercise agency. I can choose accordingly. Studying religion is going to help you in all those same ways. What you're doing when you study religion is learning about the ways that different religious traditions, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, Confucianism, the way that all those traditions make sense not only of what human persons are, there's that metaphysical question again, but how we should relate to each other, to God or to spirituality, to the natural world. And they're all going to do that in light of really challenging background conditions as well. They provide frameworks, traditions, rituals for interpreting, making sense of what it means to be in that existential predicament and to face the really challenging things that life throws at you. So like I said, I want to leave us with lots of time to chat, not just me talking at you, but for us to be in conversation. But what I want to do in concluding is just say that I think studying philosophy and religion can not only help you get a job and excel in your professional life, but they also help you to be a more complete person and to better cope with living in the world. And all of that's all the more important when things are hard, as they often are. Okay, so that's enough from me. I'd like to hear from you all. And I think there's a chat that opened while I was talking just now. So what brought you to this conversation today? Or what from the things that I just said would you like to chat about as a group?
Um, can anyone hear me?
Everybody in the chat can hear you.
Okay.
Are you Makenna?
Yes.
Hi, Makenna. It's good to meet you.
Hi, it's good to meet you too. I had a question about what studying philosophy, what types of jobs that you're able to get with a degree in philosophy.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit more about your question. Are you thinking here about wanting to study philosophy but not being sure about what it's going to do for you after college?
Right. I have an associate in paralegal studies. So I was trying to pick a bachelor's that would maybe potentially help me move on to law school, but also something that would allow me to work, you know, in between, because I think it would take me a few years in between to be able to do that. So I was just kind of wondering what types of like positions you can hold with a degree in philosophy.
That's a great question, and I'm glad to hear you're thinking about law school. One of the things that we often are proud of is sending our students on to law school, studying logic in our program, and then learning to think and argue effectively is all a really good preparation both for the LSAT, for getting into law school, and then going on to work as a lawyer. Um, so philosophy, I often get this question where folks are wondering, all right, this sounds interesting, but what can I do with that?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I started us out with at the beginning of my presentation is what I want to circle back around to, which is that when you study philosophy, what you're doing is acquiring these skills that are useful in lots of different professions that you might pursue. So anything that's going to require you to take difficult or complex ideas or material and read
Mm-hmm.
it and understand it and synthesize it, be able to make use of that material, anything that requires you to write or speak effectively, all of this is what philosophy is going to prepare you for. So it's not a pre-professional training program like if you go to nursing school, you're being trained to then become a nurse.
Right.
Most of our graduates are not going to go on for graduate school in philosophy, but we've had lots of students who've gone on to become writers uh, for think tanks, for government, for
Okay.
uh, any kind of organization or job that requires you to be able to write and argue effectively. Does that make sense?
Yes.
What are you thinking about doing between St. Mary's and law school? Do you have any kinds of jobs that you're especially excited about, McKenna?
Well, I know I can always fall back on my paralegal degree, so that helps me feel more safe, I guess. It's just a matter of trying to choose like the best route. I want to work like in public policy, so I'm thinking like either a major in that or a major in something like this would help the best.
I could tell you that folks who are working in public policy today, we're St. Mary's is so close to DC. Lots of our graduates have gone on to do work in public policy and
Okay.
to be a part of that larger national conversation or regional conversation.
Right.
That's a great
All right.
question.
I'll let someone else.
Okay. Anybody else have questions for me, or what brought you to this conversation in the first place? McKenna, can I ask you a follow-up question?
Sure. I have to
So,
figure out the Zoom thing.
oh yeah, we all have had to do that in the last few weeks. So you said you know that you're thinking about either public policy or philosophy as your major. How did you realize that you wanted to maybe work in public policy in the first place? Or what makes you interested in that kind of a career?
Um, Well, I started off in paralegal studies, and that led me to focus more on like politics and stuff in general. And I wanted to help, I don't know, shape our political climate as it is, because it's so divided, that I want to work towards making like politics and the way we see our government a little better. Like I want people to be able to come to a conversation without, you know, disregarding everything like the opposite person says just because they're think differently than them.
Yeah, I think that's such an important thing right now. We are so divided in so many ways, and lots of, social media is great, the internet's great, but it's also, it really fuels that kind of
Yeah, very
eyesight or
polarizing.
genocide. What's that?
I said it's very polarizing.
Yeah, it really is. And so I think it's a really great goal that you have. I'm glad you're thinking about doing that. I think we need more folks that are game to engage with each other and to argue, but argue in a way that's respectful and that helps
Right.
us all get closer to figuring out how we want society to be arranged.
Right, right.
That's great.
Exactly.
Is it Niamh who's also in the call?
Yeah, it's Niamh.
Niamh? Oh, hi, Niamh. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Is there anything I can answer for you? What brought you to this session on philosophy and religious studies?
Well, I've sort of just recently started to be interested in philosophy.
Okay.
Coming from my English class, I really had a really good English teacher, and she kind of asked a lot of, I assume, deep questions kind of thing. I thought it was really interesting. I guess I would say, what are some of your like favorite philosophy classes to teach?
So I really love, like I said, I teach feminism every fall, and that's probably my single favorite class. I teach environmental ethics every spring, and I love it. I love thinking about our relationship to the natural world. Right now I'm teaching a class called bioethics. It's the second time I've taught that class, where we think about how we should care for each other and how healthcare providers should care for their patients or the folks that they take care of. So I do a lot of stuff thinking about our moral obligations to each other, and also how society should be arranged, how it should be set up, and um, how it could be made more just. So those are some of those big questions that maybe you were getting at. What kinds of questions what kinds of questions came up for you with your English class?
I mean, it was kind of just like associated with some of the books that we would read. I don't know if I can think of any of the top of my head.
That's fine.
But I'm also doing a research paper on like big agriculture and specifically like cafés. So I thought that would tie into the environmental because of how really damaging it is to the environment and the waterways in specific.
Definitely, yeah, that's great. And so in my environmental class, we spend a good portion of the semester talking about agriculture and food production, and specifically our relationship to non-human animals and how we should think about non-human animals and what we owe to them. And a number of my colleagues in other departments are also really interested in agriculture and food production. It's a really popular topic at St. Mary's, and lots of students pursue that. We also have a really lovely campus farm. I don't know if you have heard about it. Have you done any farm work yourself or gardening yourself?
I'm actually in the FFA at my school,
Okay.
but I do more of like ag business kind of stuff, but I think I would really like to get more into farming. I think we're going to start doing one at our house.
That's great. Yeah, if you come visit, when you're able to come visit, you got to check out the farm. It's really pretty great.
I will. That sounds awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? So, I mean, Emily, am I right that it's Niamh and Makenna are the students on the call?
Yes, that's correct. Everyone else is part of the admission office. Yeah. I also wanted to say the birds in the background, I'm not sure who's that coming from, but it sounds beautiful. It's very common. It
It is a beautiful day today. Nice to
is.
have some
Very
sunshine.
good.
I had a more general question about St. Mary's that I was going to ask in the student life panel, but if you guys are...
Yeah, of course.
Definitely, yeah.
I had a question. I'm from Texas, and then I lived in Virginia and stuff like that. And so one of the schools I really wanted to go to was William and Mary. And when I started asking around about, just similar schools to apply to, St. Mary's came up. But before that, I had never really heard of St. Mary's, but also I'm not really from that area. I wanted to know, how, I know the school is really old, so obviously, a lot of people have gone there, but I wanted to know, how well known the school is, regionally and then nationally.
I can take some of that, and if you want
Yeah.
So the school is very well known in Maryland. I would say I think it's about 80% of our students are in-state students. So we are very well known in this area. Nationally, we are known for our sailing team. We have a very great sailing team on campus. So we do get a lot of students from those, states that are right on the water, like California, like New England area. So we are known for that as well. We are, always trying to market and to get our name. So that's how do you have anything else to add?
I would just add, Makenna, that we have similar stories. I'm from Texas, and I went to undergrad in Virginia, and am now very happy at St. Mary's. So,
Yeah, the sailing team, I actually lived on a sailboat for 2 years. So the sailing team was one of the reasons why I applied. So.
Oh, that's great.
Great.
If anyone else wants to answer or ask a question.
Niamh, how about you? Do you have other things you'd like to talk about?
How many philosophy classes do you teach per semester?
So the faculty across the college in general are going to teach 3 classes per semester. So sometimes we will have course releases and teach a bit less. But in the philosophy department, we're going to have a number of intro level classes every semester, and then 3 to 5 upper division classes on offer each semester. So there's a good amount of variety. We also add that philosophy at St. Mary's is a really pluralist department. And by that, what I mean is so I'm a Western philosopher. I work in the Western analytic tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my colleagues also works in that area. And then 2 of my colleagues are non-Western philosophers. So they are experts in East Asian philosophy and South Asian philosophy. And this is pretty unusual. To have that mix of backgrounds in a department of any size, but a small department like ours in particular, it's kind of a big deal that we have that range of expertise. So there are lots of different kinds of classes that you can take on any given semester with us.
Awesome.
I had a question about what percentage of the students that go to St. Mary's are philosophy majors?
I don't have the percentage down, but we're a relatively small major. So for next year, we're going to have, I was just looking at the numbers yesterday, we have 10 students that are going to be philosophy and religious studies majors who are graduating next year. So
okay.
About a class of 10 every year. So the whole major would be, in the 30s, because folks usually join the major in their second year.
Yeah,
that's right.
Okay.
I'll also add, Makenna, for what it's worth, the department is really tight-knit, that we're a small program, but I'm pretty proud of the fact that our majors really identify as philosophy and religious studies majors. They typically all get along and hang out together and hang out in our building. So philosophy and religious studies is in a standalone building on campus called Margaret Brent. And
Okay.
it's a place where folks really have a good community.
Okay. And does that 10 students every graduation, does that include the religious studies majors as well?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. That pretty much answers everything that I had.
Okay, great. Niamh, do you have any other questions?
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
So I'm interested in also like majoring in history. So if I were to like double major in history and philosophy, would it be like manageable? Like, do they kind of work together in ways?
I think it's definitely manageable, especially if you kind of come in with that as a plan. We have a few classes that cross-list between philosophy and other programs like history. So my colleague Batul Basharan, who teaches in religious studies, and her classes count also towards the philosophy degree. A few of them do. So her classes are going to count both towards religious studies philosophy and to history. But the bottom line is, if you are intending to double major when you start at the college, it's totally doable to pursue both.
Okay, awesome.
No problem.
Thank you.
And if either of you are interested in talking more about the program or doing, Niamh, if you want to do like an advising session where we would map out over the course of your semesters what kinds of classes you would want to take and just look at what all that would amount to, I'm really happy to do that. Just shoot me an email. You can find my email on our website, or I can give it to you now. I can type it here into the chat.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's, oh, I sent it, sorry. I'm still getting my arms around Zoom. Here we go. Yeah, so there you go. You're welcome to email me anytime. Happy to set up another Zoom session or answer whatever questions I can by email.
Awesome. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining us. It was really good to meet you, and I'll hope to get to talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.